just checking out the Hayden Orpheum, one of the most interesting Art Deco theatres in Sydney. Here's Russell. Hi. Hey Russell. Say hello.
Hello.
We're going to do No Country for Old Men tonight, but before we do, let me just show you some of these interesting lights here with the geometric patterns and designs, all thick and large. On the outside of the cinema you have large rounded letters with very thin clear lines next to them, very characteristic of the Art Deco style. These bright colours, pink and blue. Look at these sort of Hellenistic almost looking designs here on the bar. And then you have these wonderful portraits of classic films and actors and actresses from classic films. Have a look here, Her Majesty's Theatre Melbourne, a Hayden Theatre. So that's the kind of style that you're looking at. This very reminiscent of the early 20th century. There's James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Humphrey Bogart, and some signed memorabilia here to the Orpheum by Samuel L. Jackson. Kurt Russell. I don't know who signed that one. Is it Christoph Waltz? Sam Neill, Kate Blanchett, Galadriel herself, Nicole Kidman. So interesting, right? Okay, Alan Rickman, there he is, friends. Severus Snape. Very, very cool. Part of the reason why I've started in here, I'm doing a bit of a separate video on the Orpheum, because it's named after the Greek hero and archetypal character, Orpheus. Okay, Orpheus, I'm just going to double back around and go this way. Orpheus is a figure that's mentioned in a lot of classical Greek and Roman works. Just have a look at some of these other actors and actresses that are shown here. John Cleese as well. He's the son of Agrias and Calliope being a muse. Okay, so one of Apollo's daughters, the one specifically responsible for music and the arts. And Orpheus was considered a sort of a magician-like figure. His lyre, which was a stringed instrument given to him by Apollo, his grandfather, was considered as having a sort of cosmic resonance. So basically he could tame wild animals and beasts, and he could make the trees sway and the rocks move with his lyre. It's very Art Deco as well though. So what's interesting about Orpheus is that there are several myths associated with him. One of the most significant is the descent into Hades motif that involves him looking for his wife, Eurydice, or Eurydice, who is basically the love of his life, and she is killed just after their wedding. She dies. There are different versions of what takes place to Eurydice. One is that she is dancing in an open field-like area and she's bitten by a viper. Another is that a satyr, one of those pan-looking like creatures, finds her and chases after her, and in order to escape him she basically falls into a viper's nest and is bitten, and she dies, and she goes to the underworld. She goes into Tartarus, the Greek equivalent of the underworld, which is ruled by Hades and Persephone. Hades is basically the brother of Poseidon and Zeus, and according to Hesiod's Theogony, they basically, well, look at this room, so interesting, right? Draw straws to see who will govern the various regions of the world. Poseidon got the sea and the earth. Zeus got Olympus, and And Hades got Tartarus, lucky Hades. Anyway, so Orpheus, out of his love for look at these here, love for Eurydice, pursues her into the underworld, and when he gets to Hades and Persephone, he entreats them to basically allow Eurydice to leave with him. And Hades says, I'll let you take Eurydice on one condition. You have to make your way out of Tartarus, and she'll follow close behind, but you mustn't look back. If you look back, you'll lose her forever. And so Orpheus begins to make his climb out of Tartarus, and he can't even hear if Eurydice is behind him. At some point he becomes very anxious and very nervous and hasty, and he turns around and he sees her briefly just as he reaches the exit of Tartarus to the world above, and Eurydice disappears from his sight. As a result of having spurned the rites and rituals associated with the god Bacchus or Dionysus, Orpheus incurs the wrath of his cult, who are known as the Erinyes, the Furies, and they tear him to pieces and decapitate him. And there are various legends that relate where his body is buried, and where his head is buried. His head is taken by priests of Apollo, and he was known to prophesy and to give oracles in the temple that housed his head. So that's the story of Orpheus, and part of the reason why this theatre is named the Orpheum is because of Orpheus's patronage of the arts. So this was a very interesting myth that captivated the minds of the earliest Christians as well. If you visit the early Christian catacombs in Rome, you will see Christ depicted as Orpheus because of the pre-existing familiarity of the Greeks with Orpheus as a tamer of the cosmos. When Christianity reached them, the early Christian apologists could make the connection that, look, in the same way that Orpheus tamed nature with his lyre, Christ, who is the creator logos of the universe, also tames nature when he walks on water, for example, or raises the dead, himself rises from the dead. That's one way. Another way that Orpheus anticipates Christ, typologically, the earliest Christians would say that the myth of Orpheus is a foreshadowing of the coming of Jesus, and Jesus' mission is that Orpheus descends into Tartarus, later later Hades is abstracted and becomes equivalent with Tartarus. He's no longer personified because you have the personification of evil in Satan. So Orpheus anticipates Christ's descent into Hades, but whereas Orpheus does not succeed in retrieving Eurydice, Christ succeeds in retrieving both Adam and Eve and raising them from the dead. So these are the ways in which the myth continued in early Christianity. It's picked up again in the Renaissance, and it becomes the theme of sculptors and artists, and it's also persists throughout the Enlightenment period. It's the subject of various German and Italian operas, and even one of the most recent episodes of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, adapted for Netflix, is called The Song of Orpheus, because Sandman features this figure in one of the comics, the original comics written in the 90s. Orpheus is the son of Morpheus, the Lord of Dreams. So, interesting mythology behind this Art Deco theatre, the Hayden Orpheum.